Good evening and welcome to Self-Care Tips. I am Irene Joroge and we're going to talk about how to keep your cool when you're under pressure. You don't have to be someone who's working in a high-pressure office to encounter these things. You could be even at home, a housewife, a student, a college person, or even somebody who is just not doing anything, but you find that in itself gives you a lot of pressure. When you're under pressure, it is important to take charge and to be in control so that it does not get worse, it does not escalate. Remember, anything we discuss here is indeed helpful, but always seek the advice of a doctor or a medical professional who will help you through some of these things. If you have ever experienced burnout, you know how important it is to always take a breather. When you don't take time off, you'll find yourself doing things over time. After 3 years of living like this, you could find yourself on the way to a meltdown. When you experience a meltdown, here are the signs. Number one, you become scatterbrained. You actually don't have thoughts that are in line, your thoughts are not processed, and you also look frazzled and disorganized. At the same time, you're not performing. You seem to be doing things, but you're just running on the spot, just doing things on auto mode. This is definitely a sign of meltdown. And when this happens, you can be sure that the next call you're going to get is from human resources. Therefore, take a breather. Keep your weekends for yourself. Get me time. Don't let it be always about pressure, always about work, and always about looking for money. Of course, these things are very important, but at the same time, you need space. You need a break. Take time to pray. Take time to relax. Take time to spend time away from your work. And this way, you will survive any burnout or meltdown. This is Self-Care Tips on how to keep cool during times of pressure. I am Irene Joroge.
Are you still wasting your time here? Why don't you try to figure out how you're going to survive? I guess it's more practical. Are you so disappointed that I'm still alive?
I'm here to tell you, Pinky Lynn is still alive.
Pinky wasn't dead.
When will you stop being so mean to your daughter-in-law? You're a senior of the family, but it seems you never act like one. You're more like a child yourself. Did you actually do it, Jack? You and Jenny just left me there alone. You left me behind and ran away. You let me drown in the ocean.
Kwa kona board.
Hapo ni wapi?
Niko hapa kuna board na gwanga hapa karibu na nini na Epic Office.
Nini unafanya huku ndani?
Nilikuwa nakula handasa. Mama, si chakula mingi. Nyaka tu katogo mama.
Mimi kwa sai I am taken.
Mimi sina haja na mahusiano. Mimi nakupa tu pesa zikusaidie wewe mfukoni.
Checho dadabe, afure kankeme.
Ngamia iko wapi? Hii ni mfereji ama ni ngamia?
Ili kupata Warumi 8 kama skiza tune kwenye simu yako, bonyeza *811 *815#.
Nina hakika kwamba hakuna kinachoweza kukutenga na upendo wa Mwenyezi Mungu. Si kifo, si malaika, si vitu tulivyokuwa navyo au tutakavyokuwa navyo, si mamlaka au chochote kitakachoumbwa. Warumi 8:38 hadi 39.
Kupata Warumi 8, bonyeza *811 *815#. *811 *815#.
Some people dream of success, while Good Morning Kenya is here to make that happen. Start your day with authentic updates that can make or break your day. Make sure you know before you go. Join Jane Wamboi, Doreen Okello, Regina Manyara, and Victor Olo to share every morning with you. It doesn't matter where you are. You can always access Good Morning Kenya from different devices. Good Morning Kenya. Every Monday to Thursday from 6:30 to 10 a.m. on KBC Channel 1.
Did you know that while many road traffic crashes are avoidable,
human behavior continues to be the leading cause? Stop these crashes before they stop you. Ensure that you adhere to traffic rules to prevent these crashes. Always observe the fatal 6 to be safe. When driving, please ensure that your speed is within the stipulated limits, the road ahead is clear before overtaking, stick to your lane, keep left unless carefully overtaking. Ensure that you are well rested before driving on long distance, and never drink and drive. Usalama barabarani starts with you. Fika salama. This message is brought to you by NTSA and the European Union.
And welcome to today's broadcast on this 24th day of April, the year 2022, the day when the country continues with this season of mourning. The country's third president, Mwai Kibaki. We got details about the burial arrangements as his body is expected to be laid in state beginning tomorrow to Wednesday. Plus, in our comprehensive news bulletin tonight, we'll be letting you in on the politics of the weekend. A story about Raila Odinga's tour in the US, and also Deputy President William Ruto, who was in church today preaching the gospel of peace. That and much more contained in our comprehensive news bulletin that will also see me have a sit down with Jane Ruben, a parental empowerment facilitator, as we pick from where we left, talking about co-parenting, the complexities, and how to set the boundaries. Sunday Express begins right now with the top stories. 4 people perish as their Nissan Matatu collides with a lorry in Narok. Public viewing of former President Mwai Kibaki to begin on Monday. Race to the August polls. Raila Odinga begins US tour as Deputy President William Ruto foots for peace as he attends a church service. Thank you so much for joining us. Once again, we really appreciate you creating time to catch the latest on Sunday Express. Remember, tomorrow the body of former President Mwai Kibaki will lie in state at Parliament buildings beginning tomorrow till Wednesday. Right here on KBC Channel 1, we'll be covering that event live for you as the head of state Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to receive, to be there as the body will be arriving. Of course, we got our team already working on that. But first, let's begin our coverage tonight with a very sad story. 4 passengers Sunday died in a road accident at Ratili area along the Narok-Maimahiu highway after the matatu they were traveling in collided with a lorry ferrying mattresses. Speaking to Channel 1 on phone, Narok East Sub-County Police Commander Jared Marando said 8 people are admitted to hospital, noting that the lorry driver and the conductor were not injured. He called for caution among motorists, saying that many accidents in the area have been caused by reckless driving.
4 passengers died on the spot, whereas 8 escaped with injuries. Those with injuries were rushed to Narok Referral Hospital for treatment. the matatu was overspeeding. So it is believed that that was a major cause of the accident. We are warning motorists, especially at this point of the road. It is a black spot, to avoid overspeeding.
All right, moving this forward, Kenyans will from Monday be allowed to view the body of the late former President Mwai Kibaki that will lie in state in Parliament. This will be part of a week-long state burial program for the fallen third head of state. The late former president's body will be received at Parliament building at around 10 a.m. by President Uhuru Kenyatta. The body will lie in state for 3 days to enable Kenyans bid farewell to the late former president. Purity Museo with that report.
Kenyans have been urged to turn up in large numbers and view the body of the former president, Emilio Mwai Kibaki, which will lie in state at Parliament buildings for 3 days beginning Monday. A government team planning the funeral arrangements for the former president has set Monday to Wednesday as the public viewing days. President Uhuru Kenyatta, accompanied by First Lady Margaret Kenyatta, will lead the nation in paying tributes to the late president, as well as paying off their last respects. The president is expected to arrive at Parliament buildings before 10 a.m. on Monday to receive the body of the former president and commence the 3 days of laying in state. According to the National State Funeral Steering Committee, on state funeral for the third president, Mwai Kibaki, the cortege will leave Lee Funeral Home at 7:05 a.m. on Monday and will be conveyed to Parliament buildings with the casket being draped in the national flag and escorted by the family of the third president. The solemn procession shall take Valley Road and Kenyatta Avenue route through to Parliament Way. A military 3-guard of honor will be mounted along Parliament Road for the entry procession into Parliament. The public viewing at the Parliament buildings will be between 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Tuesday, 26th April 2022 and Wednesday, 27th of April 2022. After laying in state for 3 days, on Friday, the 29th, the military gun carriage and state funeral procession will make its way from State House to Nyayo Stadium, the venue of the National State Funeral. The National State Funeral Memorial Service will be interdenominational and led by the Catholic Church. To enable every Kenyan participate in the celebration, the Cabinet Secretary for Interior, on the recommendation of the National State Funeral Steering Committee, has declared Friday the 29th of April 2022 a public holiday of general observance throughout the Republic of Kenya. The body of the late former president will be laid to rest at his Othaya home in Nyeri on Saturday. With preparations ahead of the arrival of the body of the late former president Mwai Kibaki complete right here at Parliament buildings, Kenyans are expected to throng this place and give their last respects to Kenya's third president. Purity Museo, Sunday Express, Parliament buildings, Nairobi.
Thank you, Purity Museo, for that update. Remember, you can have a chance to pay your last respect beginning tomorrow till Wednesday. But tomorrow, bright and early, right here on KBC Channel 1, we'll also be covering that event for you, so you can catch that particular broadcast beginning tomorrow. Now, moving on into matters politics, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya presidential flag bearer Raila Odinga has commenced his one-week tour in the US with a series of meetings. Earlier today, Odinga held engagements with a special advisor to the UN Secretary General on prevention of genocide, Alice Wairimu Nderitu, and former US Ambassador to Kenya, Michael Ranabaga.
ODM leader Raila Odinga and his entourage arrived in Washington, D.C., where he is set to hold a series of meetings with senior U.S. government officials as well as senior members of the U.S. Congress in Washington, D.C. Upon his arrival in the United States, Odinga held talks with Special Advisor on the Prevention of Genocide to the UN, Secretary General Alice Wairimu Nderitu, and former U.S. Ambassador to Kenya, Michael Ranabaga. Odinga will also meet key African-American leaders and Kenyans in the American diaspora. Back home, Central Organization of Trade Union Secretary General Francis Atwoli has castigated leaders he accused of using shortcuts in a bid to amass wealth through dubious, illegitimate means.
You can still become a rich person without involving yourself in corruptive tendering and procurement, where people make us lose a lot of taxpayers' money, billions and billions.
Speaking at ACK St. Stephen's Church, Jogoo Road in Nairobi, Atwoli called on voters to make a wise decision at the ballot.
Engage yourself and ask yourself that in whose hands are we safe? Or in whose hands will we remain safe? To pray, we pray. Choices we make. Choices have consequences. The leadership that is presently there today will ensure that the elections will be delivered as is required.
Meanwhile, a section of Nairobi ODM ward aspirants have protested over what they term as shambolic party nominations.
My agents as well were threatened, beaten up, and roughed up as well. So they were not able to witness the election. The process was completely flawed. Some of my voters were turned away.
Led by Edna Arati, the aspirants who have lodged their complaints with the party's dispute tribunal want a repeat of the exercise in areas under dispute.
I've been receiving strange calls with hidden identity, threatening me. I've collected enough evidence and I've reported a couple of times to the police.
Ben Chumba, Sunday Express.
All right, Deputy President William Ruto has urged Christians to pray for the country ahead of the August general election. Speaking at the Deliverance Church in Zimmerman, Nairobi, the Deputy President emphasized the need for Kenyans to remain united. Deputy President William Ruto joined worshippers at the Deliverance Church Zimmerman in Nairobi Sunday. The DP using the opportunity to challenge Kenyans to pray for peace and remain united ahead of the 2022 general election.
We will continue to build our churches. We will continue to profess our faith, because in any case, Daniel 11:32 tells us, those who know their God will be strong and they will do great exploits. Kenya shall continue to be that country because we know our God, and we will be strong and we will do great exploits for our God.
The DP was accompanied by a section of his allies led by Nairobi gubernatorial aspirant Johnston Sakaja, who affirmed their commitment to serve the interest of Kenyans.
We want a city of order, a city of dignity, that people can live with dignity and dignified lives, and we can do it.
Meanwhile, Emurua Dikir Member of Parliament Johanna Ngeno has poured cold water on the outgoing Narok Governor Samuel Ole Tunai's senatorial bid, accusing him of lack of accountability.
Ati anataka kuwa senator, ati anataka kuraid kwa kura ya Patrick, yenye kura Patrick atapata, ati yeye apate. Ati aende Senate, ati ndio aende atetee maneno. Wakati maswali inaulizwa yeye atetee. Tunai anaenda nyumbani, hawezi kuwa senator ya Narok.
Ngeno made the remarks at Oronkai village in Kiligori Central at the home of Joel Tasur, who announced his plans to vie for the Kiligori's Member of Parliament seat as an independent candidate, claiming that he was rigged out of the UDA party primaries. Now, on to the just released KCSE exam results. Celebrations continued in homesteads and schools where students excelled in the Kenya Certificate of Secondary School Education Examinations, whose results were released on Saturday. Many parents and students seem overwhelmed with the joy of great performance and subsequent prospects of pursuing exciting careers.
Songs and dance filled the air in this homestead where Lucy Defano scored an airplane in the just-released KCSE results. The joyful candidate expressed gratitude to the Almighty, saying the journey hasn't been easy.
Our term, the 4-year course, we had to break for COVID and all those other factors, having online classes. Through all those obstacles, I'm truly grateful that it was worth all the effort.
Her parents celebrated their daughter who hopes to become an architect.
My daughter, she made me proud, and I want to give glory to God because si rahisi pale umbali ametufikisha.
In central Malindi, more celebrations. The Agunga family can't hide their joy after their daughter Pamela Agunga scored an A-.
I usually encourage her, but she usually tell me that, Mommy, just pray for me because examination is not very easy. Now I was not expecting her to get an A-. I was expecting like B+.
The former Loreto Girls High School student who hopes to pursue Bachelor of Arts in Medicine and Surgery says the results came in as a welcome surprise.
My mom, my dad, my teachers back at home, they always encouraged me that I can do it, and I tried all my best, and I'm happy that I got an A-.
In Kakamega County, Kakamega High School and Buka Academy registered top performances. Students and staff celebrated the wins and are looking forward to a brighter future.
I feel very happy about the results. I didn't expect to pass so well, so I'm very glad.
We believe these results are good. The students worked very hard. They did a honest job. So we thank God for these results.
In Teso North, Busia County, Blessing Okiri scored an A- of 74 points to the joy of her family.
Nilipoona hiyo A-, nilifurahi sana. Nilisikia kurudishia Mungu shukrani na sifa. Maana bila yeye sisi hatungeweza kama wazazi.
Blessing says she couldn't have done it without the help of her teachers.
They used to encourage me and they had trust in me. That's what inspired me most. Again, my parents, they never left me and encouraged me during hard times.
She hopes to join University of Nairobi and pursue medicine in the September 2022 intake. In Garissa County, Ali Njigur Secondary School student Muhammad Hira Dahir beat the odds to become the top performing student in the northeastern region. The refugee student from Somalia scored an A- of 79 points to the joy of friends and family. The 23-year-old hopes to secure the World University Service of Canada scholarship and study medicine.
I really never give up in my studies. I continued reading, burning the oil at midnight. In fact, I had my own timetable.
For the first time, around 4 local students also managing grade B+. And some of them are from very humble background because they have been working together as a team.
Isafar reporting for Sunday Express.
Once again, congratulations to the KCSE class of 2021. Now, meanwhile, Oriwo Boys High School Principal Maurice Okal will appear before the Ministry of Education on Monday to explain whether the school engaged in exam malpractice in the 2021 Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examinations. Oriwo School's results were withheld over suspicions that their conduct of the national examinations may have been compromised. Achola Simon with the details.
The eerie silence at Oriwo Boys High School in Homa Bay County betrays the general mood at the school just a day after the Ministry of Education released this year's KCSE results. The results of over 600 candidates who sat for the national exams early this year in the institution have been withheld by the Ministry of Education pending investigations. The school was ranked 4th in Homa Bay County in the last Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education exams, managing a mean score of 9 and had hoped to better on its results this year. KBC has established that the principal, Maurice Okal, is set to appear before the Ministry of Education officials early next week to ascertain if there was any irregularities before and while administering the exams. Achola Simon, Sunday Express, Homa Bay County.
All right, thank you, Achola, for that report. Now, that takes us to our first break on Sunday Express. Remember, tonight We are talking about co-parenting and how to set the boundaries, especially at this critical time when the cases of divorce and separation are on the rise. What are some of the issues that come with this? What are some of the complexities that co-parenting presents, especially for parents who have moved on or even remarried? We will be having that conversation with Jen Ruben. Jen Ruben is a parental empowerment facilitator, or if you like, just call her a parental coach. Do stay for that and much more.
Nabonga na watoi kujua mambo za online, pia na create time wafanye vitu offline. Tungeni gadgets na sites wana use, msiwache strangers wapate chance kuabuse.
Nimeshindaje pesa kompe sija participate. Unadai info yangu na ikwe private. Identity yangu haupati hautumi. Vitu zangu ni zangu na bado nitazishikilia.
Una post story ati ni real news. Mimi sikuamini mpaka nione size of this. Una text online to me tunanifeel. Staki jokes kama mimi nitakureport for real.
Wazazi, watoi na maithu wetu. Don't be fooled. Get cyber smart and enjoy safe entertainment and education online.
The Communications Authority of Kenya. Mawasiliano kwetu, nguvu kwako.
Unakusike wapi?
Kwa kona board.
Hapo ni wapi?
Niko hapa kuna board na bwanga hapa karibu na nini na Epic Office.
Nini unafanya huku ndani?
Nilikuwa nakula andasa. Mama, si chakula mingi. Nyaka tu katogo mama.
Mimi kwa sai I am taken.
Mimi sina haja na mahusiano. Mimi nakupa tu pesa zikusaidie wewe mfukoni.
Checho dadabe, afure kankeme. Ngamia iko wapi? Hii ni mfereji ama ni ngamia?
Make that up.
I didn't make anything up. Everything I said is the truth, I swear to you.
But didn't I know anything about it?
Oh, that Gonzalo is often hot-headed, but I think he would be incapable of doing something that despicable. Paulina decides to keep seeing Adria. Will you support your daughter? Or Gonzalo?
I don't want to see Adrian in this house ever again.
But Daddy, Adrian
No buts. Your relationship with him is over.
I both know that everything she said was true. Well, yes, clearly you didn't only steal my money, but also that of the other partners.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. Now, moving this forward, stigma and poor nutrition have been identified as some of the biggest impediments to the management and eradication of HIV and AIDS in parts of Western Kenya. A group of widows in Kakamega County say the burden of HIV and AIDS is becoming heavier, and the society's attitude towards those infected is doing little to provide patients with comfort and the will to survive.
Speaking in Musungu village in Mumias West, the widows noted that they are faced with a myriad of challenges ranging from access to medication, nutrition and stigma.
Sisi kutoka hapa ufike kama tauni inakuwa ni shida. Unaweza kuwa umeitwa kliniki kwa sababu tunaenda kliniki kila wakati. Unaitwa ama ukiwa na magonjwa yoyote tekenesi. Wanasema usikae siku 2 kabla hujaripoti kwa kliniki. Sasa hapo ndio changamoto inakuja kubwa kwa sababu hatuna fedha ya kutupeleka wapi hospitali.
The widows say many of their colleagues have in the past lost the will to survive.
Wale ambao walikubali hawakufa. Ukiangalia pale nyuma kuna wengi sana ambao walikufa. Wengi walikufa kwa sababu ya stigma na pia hawakuwa wamepata elimu ya lishe bora na mambo mengi.
They're now calling on the government to intervene by helping with access to a monthly stipend to cushion them from hunger, especially during these hard economic times.
Wajane wanapitia mengi, sio wananyanyaswa tu, sio kunyang'anywa mashamba, sio kupigwa, sio kufukuzwa kwa maboma yao.
Wamama hawa pia tunaona katika maisha kuna hii mambo ya pesa za wajane serikali inatoa haziwafiki wote. Kuna wale hawafikiwi kabisa. Kwa hivyo tunaomba kama Women Pillar Alliance the government to step in on the ground.
Jacqueline Masharia for Sunday Express.
Now, KCSE University was abuzz with activities as Kenya Broadcasting Corporation's Y254 television channel organized a cultural extravaganza. Besides offering the station's youthful audience a chance to interact with their favorite presenters, the occasion also provided the opportunity to encourage the youth to maintain peace ahead of the August 9th general election. Beatrice Gatonyeng-Etich was in KCSE and filed the following report.
Y254 television caravan was at KCSE University as the main sponsors of a two-day cultural event that was geared towards spreading messages of peace to the youth ahead of the general election. During the event, the university students presented a thrilling ensemble of music and dance from their diverse culture. The climax of the event was the Mr. and Mrs. KCSE University beauty pageant. Y254 TV took the chance to promote its programs that mostly target the youth. Y254 TV presenters entertained their fans and awarding various merchandise from the station. Acting head Y254 TV Fidelis Chemngetich said the event had presented a good opportunity for the station to connect with their fans and at the same time increase visibility in the region.
Y254, it's a youth station, and you find that most of our target audience are university students. So the reason we are here is to meet and interact with the students who are audience, so that we also create visibility of the station, which is very, very important, which in turn we can now partner with these campuses for revenue generation.
The Y254 TV caravan then proceeded to Nyamira County to a rousing welcome by the station's fans. And the presenters did what they know best, to the satisfaction of their fans. Beatrice Gatonyeng-Etich, Channel 1.
Must have been fun in KCSE County. Now, away from that, there are 1.2 million riders in Kenya. 9 out of 10 are used for commercial purposes, representing over 1 million jobs created. This increased demand for bikes has also attracted several companies that have set up assembly plants in Nairobi. This week on The Process, Nisi Imano takes us through the motorcycle assembling process.
In Kenya's industrial area, we visit an assembly plant for battery-powered motorcycles.
At Opibus, we deal with electric mobility. Initially, we started the conversions of safari vehicles, but we've progressed to the development of electric motorcycles in-house.
Here, parts and components of a motorcycle from the manufacturers are arranged and scheduled. The materials and parts all arranged on shelves at the precise station where they are to be used and installed. Most of the components are formed out of metal and hollow metal shells fashioned from sheet metal, welded together in a process involving manual, automatic and robotic equipment. Others are of plastic that form various plastic body trim parts. The whole process joins plastic and metal parts and components to make the motorcycle body. The assembly department is the kitchen, where all the parts are installed on the frame of the motorcycle at different stages. The first stage is installing the brake switch
will follow.
And the rear mudguard.
Here.
Then comes the motor and the brush bar. Step 2 is the fixing of the pre-assembled shocks that come with the rear wheel and the chain. Station 3 is where the front fork, the front wheel and the front fender rear are placed onto the frame with bearings that are used to fasten the joints together. The moving parts are greased to avoid the wear and tear that might occur at that particular point of contact. Then comes the fairing structure that provides a point of attachment for both the headlights and the front indicators. Once that is done, the upper triple mount is placed. This forms a firm point of placing the handlebar and the steering bar. The handlebar comes with a pre-assembled ignition switch. This will be used to turn the bike on and off. Next, the footrest on the right and the left-hand side are placed. This is where the passenger or the rider would place his feet. Then comes the center stand and the brake paddle that forms the point of connection for the rear brake system.
This one forms a point of rear brake system, so it's fixed there.
In Station 4, the front fender is placed, marking the end of the mechanical processes, signifying that everything mechanical has been properly aligned and the correct fasteners for the front and back wheel have also been properly aligned. In Station 5, the electrical assembly begins. Here, the wiring harness is placed across the bike. This forms the electrical part of the bike.
Now the bike, at this point we are...
All the power required for the bike passes through this wiring harness. All the electrical components must be correctly connected to the electrical harness.
They are properly aligned, and then the correct shock have been placed in each and every fastener. That's what the wiring harness now forms the electrical part of the bike. All the power that is required with the bike has to pass through this.
The controller is attached and mounted, and this is the brains of the bike. It gives instructions and coordinates the bike's movement. Next, the headlight is mounted and fastened, and we proceed to Station 6, where all the electrical components must be checked and proper cable management done.
This also forms part of the...
This ensures that all the components function, preventing failures in the electrical connections. Then the motor is connected to the controller and covered with a controller cover, which is the controller housing that covers the sensitive area along the wiring harness and the contactor to avoid damage brought about by external interference. After that comes the dynamic test.
We test the indicators and see if they are functioning properly. We test our headlights. We can see if our bike...
This test is done to test the bike's shocks and functionality of the braking system on normal terrain. In this case, we use the workshop area as the test area. The bike is subjected to between 2 to 5 kilometers to be able to recognize any issues, mechanical, electrical, and otherwise, for proper adjustments to be done before the bike is termed ready for the market. Reporting for KBC from Embakasi in Nairobi County, I'm Nisi Imano.
All right, thank you, Nisi, for that report, taking us through how the pieces, the critical pieces, are put together. Now, on your next ride, you know what happens behind the scenes. Let me take you to across the counties now. A section of Kiambu County Muslim imams are calling on election stakeholders to observe peace before, during, and after the August 9th elections. Insisting on the importance of peace, the imams noted that peace is the cornerstone of thriving institutions like churches, mosques, and governments.
Journalists in Thika Town, the imams led by Imam Shoaib want Muslim faithful across the country to be peace ambassadors despite belonging to different political affiliations.
Tuombe Mwenyezi Mungu tupate uchaguzi wa amani. Tuombe Mwenyezi Mungu atuvushe salama. Ni mtihani mkubwa sana mwaka huu kwamba siasa imevuma na imechukua mirengo na misimamo mikali ambayo kwamba wakati mwingi huleta farakano. Wote wale wenye kuhusika vitengo mbalimbali vya kiserikali na vyama vya Kiislamu tushirikiane, la muhimu kuhakikisha tumevuka katika siasa hii salama usalimini.
Meanwhile, Laikipia County has kick-started the improvement of Dol Dol Trading Center at a tune of 160 million shillings in a bid to attract investors. County Executive Committee member in charge of Finance and Economic Planning, Boniface Murungi, said the financed projects would improve the economic livelihoods for the residents.
Ujumla, hiyo tauni yetu tunataka tuweke zaidi ya milioni 160 ili tulete mabadiliko yenye itasaidia watu wetu, wana biashara, wawekezaji kutoka nje, wale watu ambao wangependa kuanzia biashara kama ni ya kumanufacture, kama ni ya tourism, hiyo maneno yote wakuje na wapate town ambayo iko salama.
Elsewhere, Mikindani, member of Mombasa County Assembly, Juma Renson, is using checker sporting activities across the ward to tame crime.
Hawa vijana ambao wako katika mchezo huu wa draft wangekuwa mahali pengine ambapo nguvu zao wangekuwa wanazitumia vibaya. Wako hapa wanapata ule utaalamu wa kusukuma kete, wanapata maneno ya busara jinsi watapambana na hali ngumu ya maisha ambayo iko hapa Kenya.
The Draft Initiative is a platform that brings together the elderly and the youth in efforts to provide leadership to the young generation and at the same time revive the traditional checker game which has been losing popularity among the youth. Jacqueline Masharia for Sunday Express.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
The government set up the Universal Service Fund to bring communication services to remote and hard-to-reach parts of the country. We are ensuring that no one is left behind in our journey to a digitally transformed nation. Communications Authority of Kenya, opening your world.
Oh, good evening. This is the KBC Sports Update with me, Richard Munga. Now to our top story tonight, whereby Kakamega Homeboys extended their lead at the top of the FKF Premier League after sharing spoils with Kenya Police in the league match that was played today at the Kasarani Annex Stadium. Homeboys, who were held to a 2-2 draw by Police, now top the league standings on 55 points. Defending champions Tusker FC picked 3 clear points and increased its tally to 49 points after defeating AFC Leopards 2-1 at the Kasarani Stadium. In other matches, Nzoia Sugar were held to a 1-1 draw by Ulinzi Stars at the Sudi Stadium, while Bandari FC was awarded a walkover after Mathare United failed to turn up for the match. Tomorrow, Talanta FC will take on Wazito FC at the Kasarani Stadium. To matters athletics now, where Kenyan athletes dominated the 39th edition of the Vienna City Marathon in Austria. Cosmas Muteti won the men's race after clocking 2 hours, 6 minutes and 53 seconds, while Vivian Chepkirui led a clean Kenyan podium sweep in the women's race.
Pre-race favourite Cosmas Muteti took charge of the race from the onset. Muteti stayed in the leading pack that comprised of compatriot Leonard Langat and Eritrea's Ogbe Kibroma. The 30-year-old crossed the line in 2 hours, 6 minutes and 53 seconds to win the title. Langat finished second while Kibrom completed the podium dash. Muteti, who improved his previous best time by almost 2 minutes, walked away with €15,000.
Also, Nyanza-based Ali Sawiti emerged victorious in the 6th leg of the Safaricom Golf Tour after returning 49 Stableford points in a thrilling event held at the Eldoret Golf Club. Playing off a handicap of 54, Awiti carried a total of 23 points in the first 9 and 26 on the second 9 to become the 6th overall winner and secure a slot to the grand finale set to be held at Vipingo. Awiti fended off the challenge from Anthony Yano, Sylvia Tanui and Nilam Shah. In the men's category, Nad Lakani carded 43 points to emerge the winner, ahead of Ken Kogo, who carded 41 points. The event attracted 140 senior golfers from Rift Valley and its environs.
I had played before when we had the Nyanza edition series. I didn't perform well, though I gathered some points. So I had prepared. For the past 2 weeks I've been on the course trying to just get my swings right, and I had prepared for this.
Meanwhile, Malik's men's volleyball team trounced Hazina by 3-1 on day 1 of the 7th edition of Kalamba Sports Festival, which was held at the Kalamba Primary School grounds in Makueni County. In other results, Kibwezi humbled Shiners by 3 straight sets. ASC lost to Shiners by 3 straight sets. Reke trounced the ASC by 3-0, while Amali saw off KIU by 3 straight sets. The annual tournament makes a comeback after a 2-year hiatus due to COVID-19 pandemic. Over 20 teams are taking part in the tournament, which has 3 categories, that is senior, county and junior teams. The winners in the senior category will pocket 150,000 shillings, while the first runners-up will walk away with 100,000 shillings.
Natarajia kwamba tutakuwa na game nzuri na timu zimetoka mbalimbali. Kuna timu zimetoka Nyandarua, kuna timu zimetoka Embu, kuna timu zimetoka Nairobi, kuna timu zimetoka Kolo. Nataka kushukuru wale wote ambao wamekuwa wakiorganize hii michezo kwa sababu imekuwa ni a great success.
Kuna vijana wa kutoka Machakos. Vijana wa Mtua.
Well, now let's have a look at news making headlines internationally, whereby Bayern Munich secured a 10th consecutive Bundesliga title after beating second-place Borussia Dortmund 3-1 at Der Klassiker last night. Bayern has now opened a 12-point lead at the top of the Bundesliga with 3 games remaining.
Bayern Munich defeated Borussia Dortmund 3-1 last night to clinch their 10th consecutive Bundesliga title. Serge Gnabry's sublime touch and volley opened the scoring before Robert Lewandowski coolly added a second. Emre Can's penalty cut the lead, but Jamal Musiala added a third later on. The 19-year-old slammed home from close range to send the Allianz Arena into celebration as Bayern delivered a 32nd league title. Julian Nagelsmann's side have once again dominated domestic rivals this season, and the win opened a 12-point lead at the top with 3 games left. Forward Thomas Müller, who became the first player to win 11 titles, said nothing could beat the feeling of winning the Bundesliga.
Oh, congratulations to Bayern Munich. Just a few updates in regards to matches played today. In the EPL, we had Chelsea, of course, beating 10-man West Ham 1-0. We had Liverpool versus Everton. Liverpool emerging victorious over their Merseyside derby rival, scoring 2 goals. And you had Southampton playing to a 2-2 draw against Brighton. And, of course, for the Formula One fans, we have Red Bull's Max Verstappen, of course, won the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix, the Grand Prix that is in Italy, which is the 4th leg, of course, of the 2022-2023 Formula One season. Sergio Perez was 2nd, and you had Lando Norris of McLaren finishing 3rd, while George Russell, of course, of Mercedes finishing 4th. That's all the time we have for Sports Tonight. Do have a good night, but don't go too far. Serfine Achieng is on the other side of the studio. Make sure that you do not miss today's interview. Have a good night.
Did you know that while many road traffic crashes are avoidable, human behavior continues to be the leading cause? Stop these crashes before they stop you. Ensure that you adhere to traffic rules to prevent these crashes. Always observe the fatal 6 to be safe. When driving, please ensure that your speed is within the stipulated limits, the road ahead is clear before overtaking, stick to your lane, keep left unless carefully overtaking. Ensure that you are well rested before driving on long distance, and never drink and drive. Usalama barabarani starts with you. Fika salama. This message is brought to you by NTSA and the European Union.
All right, welcome back and thank you for staying with us. So tonight we continue with our series on co-parenting and what boundaries are important in case you're in this kind of an agreement. And once again, I'm joined by Jane Ruben. She is a parental empowerment facilitator. Thank you so much, Jane, for creating time once again.
Thank you, Serfine, for having me here.
All right.
Yes.
So last week we had a very insightful conversation based on the feedback I've gotten. And just to summarize it all, we agreed that in this kind of a scenario, the interest of the child needs to come before your selfish interests as parents to this child.
Yes.
That was the bottom line. I want us to pick up from there.
Yes.
And there was a concern that came up that I wanted us to start by discussing.
Yes.
In a scenario where you're 2 parents, but one parent seems to be insisting that it is their way or the highway. This parent, in every major decision that pertains to the child, they always prefer their way. They feel like they know better. How do you co-parent with such a person?
Thank you so much, Serfine. That's a narcissistic parent, you know, a parent who will always have some inflated sense of importance, and they will want to see like their children will not need to be, maybe they will not want to co-parent with you. You know, those people who have an elevated sense of importance, this, you know, they have their ego very high and they cannot even cooperate. It becomes very, very difficult to parent with that kind of a person. Now, when such happens, then you probably need to understand that if there was a court case, then you need to form the legal processes. You know, like go through the legal processes and follow through. Those people are usually very difficult to deal with, and sometimes you will need the intervention of a court to probably give you something called a GAL, G-A-L, guardian ad litem. It's a legal term to mean a guardian who is appointed by the court to be able to follow the interest of the child. Because the two put together, the parent and the narcissist or the co-parent who is a narcissist, it can't work. Then you may need someone outside, you know, the two of you. A neutral person, actually, yes. A neutral person, that's actually the word. A neutral person that is usually appointed by the court to guard the interests of the child or the children.
Before you give us more tips on how to co-parent with a narcissist,
yes,
what are some of the challenges that, you know, having such a person in an agreement to co-parent presents, especially for the upbringing of a child?
Of course, there's a lot of competition.
Yeah,
this person will want to compete with you, not knowing that you're competing against your own child, clearly. So you're sort of, you want the child or the children to know that maybe you're the best parent, your mom or your dad is not the appropriate parent for you, not forgetting that anything that should be done, the battle here is not between the two of you, it's actually about the children. So if there would be anything that you need to be talking about here, it is the child or the children. And so one of the challenges when you're cooperating with co-parenting that kind of a person is that there will be a lot of competition. They'll want to sort of outdo you. You know that if it is their turn to take their children, they'll want to take them to very expensive malls, go do dinners.
To prove a point.
Exactly. And not knowing that, I mean, that is his or her form of parenting. The other person is also his or her own way of parenting. And one of the boundaries, if you can remember what we said last week, was that you need to parent your way, you know, like the best way you know how. So if you're a parent who probably is not very loaded in terms of money, and you can't take those children to, you know, big hotels and bigger places, do what you're able to do.
But how do you make the child understand? I'm trying to look at this young mind.
Yes.
You know, in ordinary circumstances, if the parents are together, they usually come up with a way of parenting their child, that they agree that this is how we are going to discipline our child.
Yes.
This is what we are going to be giving our children as gifts.
Yes.
This is the much we can spend on their special days.
Yes.
But if you're telling me that when you're co-parenting, you parent your way, how you decide, which may be different from what the other person is doing. How do you do that without confusing this child?
I guess it should start from the word go. Like the children would be able to be made aware that, you know, this is what is happening. We are probably going through a divorce, or we are going through a rough patch, and you might probably be ending up with your dad or with your mom, and at some point, just making the children aware. You remember the open communication you talked about the other time, Let the children also be in the picture, such that if they are told that this is where you will be this weekend, they'll be okay with it. You know, put them together and have a conversation with them. And even as you do that, it would also be important to also agree with the other parent. As much as you're saying you can't communicate, we say that your communication should also be even business-like. In a way, don't make demands like request. Would we? Can we? May I? You know, that kind of a thing, So that it doesn't appear like you're demanding for your child. So you could probably make that kind of a business communication, Let it appear like it is a business thing that you're contracting with, and the business is the child,
It's a professional parenting relationship, for lack of a better term.
Of course, yes.
All right. So a lot has really, come up in terms of feedback. And, one thing that became sort of like the elephant in the room is when your partner or your spouse has moved on. Both of you are in different relationships, or one is single, depending on how you want to look at it, and you're co-parenting. So this presents a lot of challenges, especially when the parents of this child are supposed to be spending time together in what they call the interest of the child. They're supposed to be meeting as either one is dropping or picking the child. They're supposed to be attending the special days of this particular child in school, maybe graduation. I mean, what do they say? What do they talk about? And how do you even exist in such kind of,
I know it's a tricky situation, but if done the right way, you can actually just strike a conversation around the child, majorly about the child. You don't need to get into someone's personal life, like, how did you spend your day? You seem to be having a flu. Have you seen the doctor? Stick the discussion to the child or the children, and not the other person.
You don't supposed to check on your, co-parent.
We are not friends. We are not friends. This is just a relationship that has brought us together. for the interest of the child. You know, you remember that when these people have parted ways, then it means they're not friends, are they? They are not. So then that means they have some sort of a sour relationship. So the relationship here is just for the child. So anything to do with whether you have a cold or you don't have, it should not be my business.
But what if you've let bygones be bygones, you've forgiven, and you've agreed that on mutual interest, this is our child, we have to raise this child together.
Yes.
So this means whatever negative energy I may have against that person is gone. I mean, when you meet, what do you discuss? When you have to take this child to maybe out of town, maybe that is where the co-parent is.
Yes.
What do you tell your current spouse? I mean, these are the complexities that come with
I agree with you,
yeah.
Serfine. But then there are limits. You know, you have to ensure that your other partner knows about what you're doing, and probably let him or her accompany you when you're delivering the child or when you're dropping the child to the other person. Like, let the business between you and your ex be just the child, and that's it. Because then if you start bringing in things, that's when there will be statements like it was nice when it lasted and blah blah and this kind of things, and it's bound to sow some emotions as well, you know. And we want the discussion to stick at the child only. So when you're dropping the child, drop the child, talk about, I'll pick the child at whatever time it is that we'll agree, and that's it. So this thing of mutuality and everything else should actually cease unless you want to revive the relationship.
How is that co-parenting? You know, I mean, co-parenting, some feel is, you know, at some point the
Yes.
child has to benefit from both the parents. They have to spend time with this child together.
Yes.
And the child has to enjoy that experience of having both his or her parents together in that moment.
Yes.
You are advising against that.
No, I am not saying that these two should not sit together. For the interest of the child, it is very fine. But also a disclaimer: if you're seeing someone, or if you're married, or if you have moved on, that it might sour some relationship. So what about then bringing in the other person, so that then it seems clean that between me and the mother of this child or the father of this child, we have nothing except the child. But I would advise that we do parallel parenting. What is parallel parenting? If this child has to be taken out for whatever reason, a birthday, a special day, let the father do it, let the mother also do it. So then there are no these other issues of, we sat together. What are you even discussing about? Like, if you were to look at this relationship as a business-like kind of a relationship, if the business is not the child, then I wonder what you'll be talking about. Because if business partners sit together to talk about business, so we are sitting together with this person to talk about the child. If it's not about the child, please, let's forget it.
All right. What are some of the I know you've touched on some, but what are some of the things that one ought to do to create that acceptance and comfort between, say, a baby mama and the current partner, or a baby daddy and the current partner? What is it that is fundamental?
Of course, this calls for even the person to be proactive, whoever it is in the biological parent of this child. If there is another step, or the stepmother or the stepfather, it calls for him to also be proactive, for her to also be proactive. Like, if there are those instances where the child is being met by the biological father or the mother, the person should also probably be there and play neutral, like even start becoming like sort of friends. Talk, discuss, let them bring, maybe if it's a girl, bring some presents here and there, this kind of a thing. So what you're doing is that you're trying to create a rapport, so that if this child will finally come to live with you, the two of you, then you will have already created a relationship with them, and also a rapport. It will have existed.
Yeah. There are some who say, this co-parenting, where did it come from? We never used to have this. It's a foreign culture.
Yes.
I mean, what used to happen back in the days?
Yeah, you see now, the divorces, the separation. Like, you stay with one person 1 year, you're like, it's not you that I wanted, and so it will end up. There's also a new name in the market. There's a deadbeat dad, baby mama, and a daddy, baby daddy, and all those kind of stuff. It never used to be there. I think when you called it quits, then it was quits. Like, let me bring up my children alone, and that's it. If you will ever meet at some point in your life, it is okay. If you never ever come to meet, then that will be fine. So it's a new thing that I think also is a good thing to do, because then the child needs the two of you in their lives. Yes.
So it's a step in the right direction.
Yes,
though
and
it comes with
one.
a lot of consequences.
Yes.
There's one of our viewers who just said, why can't one parent just raise the child until they are of age to make independent decisions?
That would probably be fine if they're able to, but then the child needs the two parent, the well-being of a child. If you look at them psychologically, they need both the mother and the father, so they need somehow strike a balance for them to be able to grow up with the two parents. But if they're able to, because there are also those parents who refuse completely, I do not want the dad in their life, I do not want their mom in their life, and then after they're 18, they go looking for their parents. But a disclaimer, please don't badmouth about the other parent to a child, because when they grow up, then they will make their decisions. They might not even want to see you ever. They'll want to see the person that you told them against, and that is what they will want to work with.
It is their right to know about their other parent, regardless of what happened between the two of you. It's a conversation that unfortunately we can't complete in one sitting, but you have really helped a lot of people. You have no idea, just based on the feedback that we got from last week. And I believe also the conversation is going to continue online concerning this. We have gotten to the end of this, and I'd just like you to talk to society in this time when there is a surge in divorce and separation. We are talking about co-parenting. We shouldn't. We should actually be talking about how to parent better. Talk to us about how to just rethink and rework how we look at the institution of family and the institution of marriage as your parting shot.
All right. So thank you. So maybe looking at parenting, of course, a child needs both the mother and the parent, but there are situations that it is not workable. Maybe there are situations where maybe there is gender-based violence, there is physical violence, there is sexual violence, there is financial violence, all those kind of violences, and then it becomes unbearable for someone to stay in that marriage. However, if people are able to work upon their differences, that is the best for the child to be brought up, you know, in a family unit. In an event then that parents have to part ways, let us look at a way that is amicable for both the children and all of us as parents. And when it comes to having to part and co-parent, remove resentment, remove anger, remove emotional baggage, and parent this child the best way you know how. Yes.
Thank you so much, Jane Ruben, a parental empowerment facilitator. Thank you for creating time for us just to talk about this issue of co-parenting. Of course, bottom line remains, you have to know how to differentiate between selfish interest and the welfare of the child. That's the best way to put a cap on it. Thank you so much for catching Sunday Express tonight. John Jacob Kiria could not join us, but hopefully on Wednesday and Sunday he will. So do stay for that and much more. But tomorrow, remember, we are covering for you live the event where the country's third president, Mwai Kibaki's body is going to lie in state in Parliament beginning tomorrow till Wednesday. So keep it KBC Channel 1. My name is Serfine Achieng Ouma. Our sign language interpreter has been Anne Wangeshi. Have a good night and God bless.
The government set up the Universal Service Fund to bring communication services to remote and hard-to-reach parts of the country. We are ensuring that no one is left behind in our journey to a digitally transformed nation. Communications Authority of Kenya, opening your world.
Ili kupata mafuta kupanda kama skiza tune kwenye simu yako, bonyeza *811 397 hash.
Nashukuru serikali kwa kuongeza bei ya mafuta. Sasa niko kwa highway na kuna traffic hata kidogo. Naomba serikali iendelee hivyo, tubaki tu watu ya gasla na heavy machine peke yake. Pia mimi naomba huyu serikali waseme kama gari yako ni below 3000 cc, gari yako na
ili kupata mafuta kupanda kama skiza tune, bonyeza *811 397 hash. *811 397 hash.
Did you know that while many road traffic crashes are avoidable, human behavior continues to be the leading cause. Stop these crashes before they stop